Hello, this is Roland. Today I want to talk about a very beautiful verse. I'll read it to you from the Gospel of John. And he says, "But as many as received him," in other words, as many as received Christ, as many as received him, to them he gave the power to become the children of God, even to them that believe on his name, which were born not of blood, nor of the will of the flesh, nor of the will of man, but of God. And that's the part I want to focus on, the last part. Not of blood, nor the will of the flesh, nor of the will of man, but of God. That's very beautiful. And I would just like for you to perhaps get a glimpse of the fact, a very beautiful fact, that if you grasp it, your whole life changes for the better. That all good comes from God. And anything that he initiates is beautiful. And when he begins something, he follows through, and it becomes perfect. How many of you know that? How many of you have tried to make something happen? You know, you tried to get somebody to do something, or you tried to get two people to get along, or you tried to get something to happen and it didn't work out at all. A lot of parents have to learn the lesson that they need to just butt out of their kids' life. They try to manipulate everything and make sure everything works out, and it robs the child of independence. Robs the child of doing for himself or for herself. You know that, right? Maybe you had parents that worried about you and tried to make things happen, and you needed to be able to do it for yourself. Okay? So that's the way it is in life. So it comes from God. Even salvation comes from God. He initiates it. You can't make it happen yourself. And to the extent that you get your will out of it, to that extent, you leave it an opening for God to operate. The classic example is you're standing there in a very delicate moment with your partner or your child. You know how there are a lot of delicate moments with those near to us, aren't there? Especially you fathers. And an issue develops, and you stand there, and you don't know what to say, and you don't know what to do. So you just stand there. Before, you would have tried to make a speech or a lecture, or you would have dredged something up from the past, something you learned, something you read, something somebody said, or perhaps something would come to mind from your subconscious, some creatively cruel thing, with tease in it, with challenge in it, see, with ego in it. And it's a temptation. Your speeches, your lectures, your eye rolling, your sigh of like, oh, what am I going to do? All your little things that you do or have ego, are tainted with pride. But if you just stand there, you don't know what to say, you don't know what to do, but you honestly and truly want to do the right thing or say the right thing. See, you really do. You have the best interests of your child or your partner at heart, and you don't know what to say. You do. So you just stand there, and then maybe you don't even say anything. But the moment passes, and good comes of it. Or perhaps you do say something. Intuitively something comes to you to do or to say, a gesture or a word. But it comes from, it's inspired. It comes from your intuition, from God, from the inner light. And it has a wonderful, beautiful effect. Okay? because your ego is out of the way. If you could just get your ego out of the way, then there's room for God to operate. But when you want to play God, see, that's what we do. When you want to play God, when you judge another, or when you want them to think well of you, or if you want to impress someone, when you play God, then it backfires. See? And it's that way in so many areas of life. It doesn't mean being passive and not doing anything. It doesn't mean that. It just means to wait, let a moment go by, let a heartbeat go by even. Then, if something comes to you that you didn't dredge up from your intellect, from your storehouse of knowledge that you collected to try to impress people with, and it just spontaneously flows forth, bubbles forth, then it's good. And if nothing comes to you, then maybe there was nothing to do. Life is very delicate. How many times have you had a situation where you were doing something, you were driving, and for some reason you just paused for a moment, for just a fraction of a second. You just paused for a fraction of a second, and a speeding red light runner went flying by at 50 miles an hour. And if you had gone a fraction of a second sooner, it wouldn't have been good. Life is very delicate. And our ego is like have you heard the old expression, a bull in a china shop? You can imagine a bull in a china shop, right? Wrecking everything. Well, that's the way our ego is. And our manipulations, and our playing God, and our trying to, see? So it does. See, some people then they throw in the towel and they say, "Well, I'm never going to do anything, and I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to let que sera, sera. Not going to do anything. Just let what happen, what will." See, well, that's also, isn't that kind of that's an ego thing also? It's a resignation, resentful resignation. See, no, not that. But there's some kind of a middle ground where you really and truly want to do the right thing and are willing to do the right thing, but you don't know what the right thing is, and all of a sudden you do know what the right thing is. It's that simple. See, so it's not your will, but God's will. It's very subtle, but very important. You should meditate. You should get my meditation. Learn to be still. Learn to close your eyes and look at the inside of your eyelids and see the particles of light, the little glow of light. The moment you do that, you're no longer lost in your imagination. You're in reality. And even for that fraction of a second, something good comes through. You download little magical stardust from God. So you should get the meditation. Christ told us to pray. He said, "Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done." Your will be done. See? You want God's will to be done, not your ego's will, but God's will. Okay? It's very, very important. My name is Roland.